Hello, this video is going to teach you how to change a flat tire in your 2016 to 2022 and probably almost other year models possibly too of a Honda Pilot. So it's easy when I'm doing tire rotations at home and I have my own floor jacks and I have jack stands, breaker bars and things like that. It's pretty easy. But what if you're on the side of the road and you have a flat tire and you just have to use what came with the vehicle? So that's what this video is going to be about, is how to change a flat tire with just what comes on your vehicle. So let's get started. Okay, so one thing you're going to want to keep track of, if you paid for a locking lug nut on each wheel, then you're going to want to know where you have your key. That you're going to need that anytime you take off a wheel. Now your vehicle may not have this, but a lot of people buy these to help prevent theft. I know there's ways around it, but at least it slows somebody down. So you'll know you have one of these if you look at your lug nuts. The regular ones that come with a vehicle are flat like that, but then this different looking one is a keyed lug nut. And so then you just kind of put it on there and slowly rotate it until it locks in like that. And then this portion takes the same socket as these do. So anyway, just have that handy. If you use something like that, when you do a job like this, I keep mine in my glove compartment. Some people might keep it back here, but to me, it's easier to find in the glove compartment. I'm just going to show you a couple of things I keep in my cars all the time. Got a basic first aid kit. This is a air compressor for putting air in tires, and I'll put links to the air compressor in the description. This is a NOCO Genius Boost. It's a jump starter for the battery where you can jump start your vehicle without the help of another vehicle. So I highly recommend this because your battery is just going to die. It's not going to give you a bunch of warning signs. And so a lot of times when my battery dies, I have to jump it sometimes multiple times to get to where I'm going and get the battery I need to replace it. So I'm going to put links in the description to these things. Okay, so let's say you have a flat tire, you come back here to the back, you empty out whatever you have so you can access everything. You're going to put your thumb in this little notch right here and pull that out. And what you're going to find in there are these two tools right here, and here's your jack right here. So the jack in this vehicle is held in by this little Velcro strap right here. Just going to take it out. And you don't really think about these things till you try to put them back, but try to remember how it was in there when you took it out. So you see this shape right here. Just remember that when I put the jack back in, I don't want this sticking out. I want this part sticking out. So it's going to go back in like that when we're done. So I've got my jack and I've got my two tools that I'm going to need. Okay, so this comes with your vehicle. So I'm going to set the jack portion aside. And the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and take these off of my plastic because I don't want the outside of my plastic that's shown on my car interior to get all scratched up. So I'm going to go ahead and remove those two tools. If you forget how they go in there, you'll see a slight marking of the candy cane shape in the plastic to kind of remind you that this piece goes there. You can see it kind of etched in there, the little candy cane shape right there, and it shows you, going down in there like that. You see the shape, so it's going to snap back in there. The other one's going to snap back in that way. So I'm going to set this up here inside the car where I don't scratch it up. Next thing I'm going to do, you see this handle right here where you take this out right here. Okay, now these are just some things that I keep in this car. Keep a couple of tarps for hauling mulch at the Home Depot and stuff like that. Set those aside. Now I got this right here. It says spare tire right there. So what you're gonna do is you grab a key or something like that, put in this little notch, and just pull that up like that. Okay, I'm gonna set this in here so we don't lose it. Now I got this little rubber thing right there. I'm gonna use a little key also just to kind of try to, this is one thing I don't know why they don't like give a pull tab. But anyway, there's that rubber cover. Set it in there. So you see that square, okay? So that's important. And then let's just point out, can you see under the car? Here, way under the car is our spare tire. It's right up here. So what we have to do is get that tire out of there. So the way we do that from up here is we grab this tool right here. See, this end has a square in it, okay? I'm gonna put that right there. And then I'm just gonna start turning it counterclockwise. There's a cable, and as I do this, my tire is lowering. Now this is easy enough. You see the tire already? How low it is? So I'm just gonna keep doing that. Now I can take this other tool and I can put it in like this, and I can just go like that, okay? And you're gonna see that in no time that tire is gonna be on the ground. And you do wanna keep going until it actually rests on the ground. So there's no point in fighting with it when it's, I mean, you could get it out anytime you wanted right now, but let's go ahead and keep going. We're almost hitting the ground. We're hitting the ground now. I'm gonna do it a couple more times. Okay? All right. So now, you obviously, if you're on the side of the road, you're probably not gonna have gloves, but you might keep gloves in your car. I'm gonna go ahead and use them just for this video because I'm handling the dirty tire. But this is the kind of stuff you don't want to sit there and try to figure out in your owner's manual when you have a flat tire. So that's why knowing how to do it ahead of time is worth a lot. So under here, you see that cable. Well, something's obviously holding that tire, so we can't just take it out. So we're gonna lift the tire up, and it's gonna reveal this black plastic rectangle. Can you see that? Does that show up? And then you got the cable right there. So you're gonna have to take this rectangle and rotate it where it'll feed up through the center cap, the center of your tire like that. So you just shove it up in there. Now that's what it looked like. This is what was holding your tire. So that's just gonna dangle till we're done. So we're gonna take our tire out. Once again, you may not think about it, but you gotta remember how your tire was, because so this is the part that was up with the indentation like that. So when we go to put this back, we're gonna wanna put it in this orientation. The spare tire sticker's facing up. There is our air, and then the lower part is in like that. So it's way up like that. So we're gonna wanna remember that when it comes to putting it back on. To me, one of the great disadvantages of having a spare tire that's hard to get to is you can't check the air in it without going through this, and most people are not going to go to that trouble when they do a tire rotation. So most people are going to find out if their spare is flat when they need to use it. So before we put it back on, we will check the air, and we will make sure that it's inflated, and this is a 60, inflate to 60 psi. So these spare tires are little, but they're high pressure. This one is holding air very good. It's very solid. It's probably been, I don't know, a year or more since I took it out just to check it. So now we got our spare tire out. So now what? Well, let's see. Let's just point out the jack points, which on this vehicle are extremely easy. The jack points on this car are so easy to identify, depending on which wheel. So this is the back. It's going to be the same on both sides. You just go under here by your back tire, and under the vehicle, you're going to see this reinforced steel bar. So we're going to want our jack to be right in the middle of that. By the front tires, if it's a front tire that's flat, you're going to have the same thing. Just a few inches from the tire, you're going to see that reinforced steel bar. You're going to put your jack right in the middle of that, okay? So no matter which tire you have that's flat, this process is going to be the same. So now this is where we get this old jack that comes with the car. So your wide part here, this is wider than this, right? And you see how this has a notch? Well, the purpose of this notch is to cradle that reinforced point that we just showed you. So we're going to want our fat part on the ground, and the way these work is you rotate this. See, if I rotate it in a clockwise direction, it's going to raise that jack. See how easy that is? So what I'm going to do is grab this. This is made to be, you know, a little hand crank where you can hook it like that. Just go like that. So let's say we're changing this tire right here. Okay. So we're going to put it in like this, not at an angle. You need to have your car where this is on flat ground, preferably pavement. Sometimes you may not have a choice, but you would like it to be on pavement because there's going to be a lot of weight in a small area. So we're going to just kind of rotate this. And it's just so easy just to hold it off the ground so that I can rotate quickly. All right, it's already getting close. Just gonna rotate this. And we're still about an inch or so. Okay, still about a half inch. Okay, so now we're getting close. So now I can kind of position this where that notch is right in the middle. Gotta be patient. Yeah, I kind of got it notched in there. Now I'm making contact. So what I want to do now, before we forget, it's so tempting when your mind is going on getting this jacked up, that one mistake that you can easily make, even if you work on cars and do things regular, it can still slip your mind. We want to loosen up the lug nuts while the weight of the car is on the ground, because the ground and the weight is holding that tire still. Whereas once we jack it up off the ground, that tire is just going to want to rotate. So we're going to take this, and I don't have a flat tire, so I'm not going to take my tire off, but you would put this in a position, and you would ideally have it like that, where if you had difficulty breaking that loose right here, you know, you can put your foot on it or something and get more torque. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit. So you would, in a star pattern, meaning, you know, that you go every other one to loosen. And we already talked about if you have a locking lug nut, you just put that on there and then you would put this on that, and that's how you get that off. So we would loosen all the lug nuts. We would just get them broke loose where you could rotate that nut, say 3 times, okay? And then once you loosen that, then you would come back over here and put this in there and just jack up the car that way, okay? So it's kind of a pain with this thing, but it rotates for you like this. See how you can't go all the way around, but you can rotate. You kind of, once you get into a pattern, see, you can kind of get used to rotating it around like that, okay? And that's how you would get your tire off the ground. Once your tire was, say, 1 inch off the ground, maybe even a 1/2 inch, but I would at least do a 1/2 inch. Don't just wait, because you might get frustrated. I guess these tires are actually a little smaller, so it would work, but just get it a little bit off the ground. And then you're gonna finish taking all the lug nuts off, set them down where you won't lose them, remove your tire. You're gonna put this tire on, and then you're gonna put your lug nuts back on. You're gonna snug them up with this while it's in the air, but not try to tighten them completely, but you go ahead and make it to where the threads are all the way with the nut, so that your tire's not gonna wobble, because you don't want, when you let it down and put weight on it, you don't want those threads getting messed up. So you go ahead and you snug them all the way, and then you would do reverse order, where you would go counterclockwise to get the car back down off the jack. These are, as you can tell, not the easiest with this Candy King. So you would just go in reverse order, and then you would just let this down all the way. And then we would finish this off the car just by doing it counterclockwise until it's flat. And then once your spare tire is touching the ground, then we would use this again to tighten those lug nuts, snug them up. You don't have to tighten them as much as you can. You just make sure they're good and tight. And then you can either drive yourself to a tire shop and have them patch or plug or replace your worn tire, and they're going to put it back on for you. But if you had to put it back on, you could go through the same thing again. But if you're at a tire shop, they're going to go ahead and do that for you while you're there. So then you would just put your tire back in your car and go to the tire shop. If it was me, I wouldn't mess with trying to put the tire on there. I would just, you're gonna have the center cap and everything on. So you just want to throw your tire inside the car, go to the tire shop. So that would let you know how to do that. And we're gonna go ahead and put the tire back on. Let's say that you got it done, you got everything done, and you're ready to put your tire back on your car. But before we do that, I want to check the air pressure. So I'm just gonna, and this will give me an opportunity to show you how that Milwaukee air compressor works. So this threads onto here. So I'm gonna turn it on. It's only got 45 in it. So even though it feels hard as a rock, it's only got 45, and I wanna set it at 60. Okay, so that lets you know, man, it takes a while to get that little tire just from 45 to 60, because 60 is so much. It's a really high pressure. It's like twice as much pressure as a regular tire. So now that we got that, we're gonna go ahead and put that back. But before we do that, I just want to point out, we've done this job with what comes with the vehicle, okay? So I want to show you some things that you could buy to keep in your car that do not take a lot of space, but they could certainly save you some time. So one of the things for safety is these small wheel chocks, okay? Normally I would use larger ones working at home. I have some, rubber, good size wheel chocks. These are so small. It's a 2-pack. And what wheel chocks do is they just make it safer. So this opens up like that. This bar goes up against like that. And so whatever tire you're changing, you would put this on the opposite side to keep the car stable. So changing this back tire, for example, we would come over here to the front tire on the opposite side, and we would set the wheel chock in front of it so that when we jack the car up, the weight is going to shift this way and it keeps this from moving. So there's 2 in there. So what I would do is I would, just for stability, I would take the second one and I would go ahead and put it here. And if you have on the opposite side of the vehicle that you're working on, if you had one in front of the front tire and one in back of the back tire, you're keeping your car from moving both directions. So that's one thing you could do. So I'm going to put a link to these in the description. They're not expensive. The reason that I keep all this bubble wrap on them as if they were new is for noise. So if you're going to keep something like this in your car, the last thing you want is to hear it, chattering around every time you hit a bump. So I just keep all this stuff in the wrap, and it's one of those things, I hope I'll never need, but if I have it, it doesn't take up a lot of room to keep this in the car. So there's wheel chocks, that's one thing. And then the other thing is sometimes I do my work myself, so I know that my lug nuts are torqued correctly, which means that I should be able to get them off with this, but sometimes it's hard to get it in a position where you could put your foot on it if you needed it. So sometimes having a little more torque is helpful. So one thing you could do is just use this, but put a little pipe in your car that would fit over that to give you some more torque. But what I do is I have this adjustable wrench. This is a Gorilla product. I'll put this in the description. So this moves out like that. So the difference is quite a bit when you think about torque, and you've got several more inches there, probably about 6 inches more than what you would have with that small one, and that's going to greatly increase your torque. And so it comes with these different sockets, and you put this in there like that, and it snaps in. And I think this is the right size for this vehicle. Yep. So that would work on this car. The other one's labeled for my CRV, so I keep both of these in this bag. And so then this would be something that I would prefer to use, but this is very reasonable. This will help get your tire off. This will help keep your vehicle safe. So these are 2 very inexpensive items that don't come with your car that I would recommend, but you can do it with what comes with it. So let's go ahead and put this back. Made me nervous going all the way up to 60 with this thing. I thought, man, that is a lot of pressure. We're gonna put this back. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and put this wheel back. So we're gonna just kind of push it in place, get it where it's kind of under there. And so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take our little cable here, and I'm gonna rotate it like that, and I'm gonna put it in this hole, and then I'm gonna lift the tire until it falls through. Okay, I'm through. So now, all I gotta do is come up here and start cranking the other way. Find my tools. Oh yeah, I gotta use the other one to turn it. So, I just put that on. Grab my little turning part here. Now I'm going to turn it this way. Clockwise. It's going to be a little harder because you're lifting, but it's still very easy to turn. Yep, it's really kind of amazing how quick it is. It seems like it would take forever, but it doesn't. Probably like 2 inches away or something. Okay, we're already making contact. So it's not that you want to crank hard, but you do want to snug it because you don't want that thing vibrating and making noise. So I'm going to go ahead and snug it up pretty good. I'm going to go under there and just kind of jiggle it and make sure I'm good with it. Yep. I'm not going anywhere. And my plastic piece is nice and straight under there. It's not moving at all. So I'm happy with that. So now remember all the little things we have to put back. So we had that little rubber stopper right here. So we're gonna put that back. Doesn't matter how it goes, it just pops right in. And then this went in like this. Pops in. Remember to put our locking lug nut back in the glove compartment. So now remember this. We said it had the little candy cane shape right here. So I'm going to snap that in. Get that in there like that. And then this, I think, went this way. Where that goes there, and then I gotta pop these in right here, in here, and here. Okay, and then this also has a little plastics that grabs it so that these things aren't going to vibrate when you're driving, which would be very annoying. Okay, so now we got to take our jack. Remember we said that this fat part stuck out. And then we got to get it, want to lift our Velcro tab up like this. I don't know if you can see that there's this other piece of the Velcro down here that it goes in. So we're going to set this in here like this and kind of tilt it back in there like that. See, this is padded, that's why it doesn't make noise. So then we're going to take this, weave it through here. Alright, so there it is. So got that through there. It's harder than it needs to be. Pull it really tight on this Velcro because you don't want that thing moving. So now this went in this direction with the notch up. So I'm just going to tuck these 3 in first like this. Kind of rotate it up into position. Kind of go around and make, there we go. See? Kind of push all the way around. So there we go. So this job is done. One of the things, if you haven't figured it out yet, that's kind of cool about this bottom floor, is you can either have it deep like that, so we can snap this in all the way at the bottom, like that, or we can make a flat floor by putting it here. Tucks right under there, makes a flat floor, and this rotates. So this is the carpet that matches this, which is nice because it keeps things from sliding. But if you had something dirty, muddy, like muddy boots or stuff from the beach, you can flip this over, and it's got this hard wipeable surface like that. And this can also go in both positions. So this is really nice. But we find just for like groceries and things like that, that the carpet is better for us because it keeps things from sliding as much. So I'm gonna go ahead and put in my other things that I keep back here. These tarps are cut where when we put both seats down, this tarp covers this side all the way up to the front seats, and this one covers this side. And then if we're hauling something, it keeps the carpet from getting ripped. And then we find we like it in the low position most of the time because groceries, putting milk jugs and different things back there, they're not going to go anywhere. And then I'll put everything else back. So that's how you change a tire with what comes with the vehicle. I'll put links in the descriptions for other items that I mentioned that you might want to consider. So I hope that's helpful for you. Thank you for watching.